What if I told you that the smartest person in any room is rarely the one with the highest IQ? What if real intelligence has nothing to do with how many facts you know, and everything to do with how you process information, read situations, and make decisions that others miss? 3 months ago, I watched a 22-year-old intern completely outmaneuver a room full of executives during a strategy meeting. Not through experience or expertise, but by using mental frameworks that made her thinking 10 times sharper than everyone else. While others were stuck in obvious solutions, she was seeing patterns and possibilities that no one else even considered. She asked questions that revealed flaws in their assumptions, connected dots between seemingly unrelated issues, and proposed solutions that were so elegant they seemed obvious only after she explained them. That moment made me realize something profound. We have been thinking about intelligence completely wrong. So I went straight to ChatGPT with one burning question. How do I develop the kind of intelligence that allows me to outsmart anyone in any situation? The answer was not what I expected, and it is definitely not what they teach in school. Here is the uncomfortable truth about intelligence in the real world. Your college degree, your test scores, your ability to memorize information, none of that matters when you are facing complex human situations that require real-time problem solving. The education system has trained us to believe that intelligence is about storing information, but that is like thinking that having a big hard drive makes you a better computer programmer. According to research by psychologist Howard Gardner at Harvard University, there are at least 8 different types of intelligence, but our education system only rewards 2 of them. Linguistic and logical mathematical. That means most of us have been trained to use maybe 25% of our mental capacity. The people who consistently outsmart others are not necessarily the ones with the best grades or the highest standardized test scores. They are the ones who have developed what I call practical intelligence. The ability to see what others miss, think steps ahead, and find solutions that seem obvious only after someone else points them out. Research from Stanford University shows that people with a growth mindset about intelligence consistently outperform those with higher baseline abilities but fixed mindsets. This means that believing you can get smarter is actually more important than how smart you start out. When I asked ChatGPT about developing superior intelligence, I expected tips about reading faster or memorizing more facts. Instead, I got something revolutionary. A framework for thinking that makes your brain work like a high-performance computer instead of a basic calculator. The AI broke down intelligence into 5 core systems that you can upgrade systematically. What surprised me most was that ChatGPT emphasized that modern intelligence is not about knowing more than others. It is about thinking better than others. In an age where any fact can be Googled in seconds, the competitive advantage goes to people who can process information faster, recognize patterns quicker, and make connections that others miss. The 5 systems that ChatGPT revealed were pattern recognition, mental modeling, strategic thinking, emotional intelligence, and adaptive learning. Master these 5 systems, and you will not just be smarter. You will be operating on a completely different level than everyone around you. The first intelligence system shocked me with its simplicity. Truly smart people are just better at recognizing patterns. They see the connections that others miss because they have trained their brains to look for recurring themes, cycles, and relationships in everything from human behavior to market trends to problem-solving scenarios. Malcolm Gladwell, in his book, Blink, discusses how experts can make accurate snap judgments because they have developed pattern recognition through thousands of hours of experience. But here is what most people do not know. You can accelerate this process dramatically by consciously looking for patterns in everything you encounter. Here is a practical exercise I started doing based on what ChatGPT suggested. Every day, I write down 3 patterns I notice in conversations, in news, events, in people's behavior, in market trends, in my own decision-making, anything. Within 2 weeks, I started seeing connections that completely changed how I approached problems at work and in my personal life. For example, I noticed that every time our team missed a deadline, it followed the same pattern. Initial overconfidence about the timeline, poor communication in the middle phase, where problems were hidden, and panic-driven decisions at the end that created more problems than they solved. Once I recognized this pattern, I could predict and prevent project failures before they happened. The key insight is that patterns exist at multiple levels simultaneously. Surface patterns are obvious to everyone, like people get grumpy when they are hungry, but deep patterns reveal underlying systems and motivations that give you predictive power. Smart people look for patterns in patterns, connections between different types of patterns, and meta-patterns that govern how patterns emerge and evolve. The second system is what separates strategic thinkers from reactive thinkers. The ability to build accurate mental models of how complex systems work. A mental model is like having a simulation running in your head that lets you predict outcomes before taking action. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's business partner, built his fortune using what he calls mental models from different disciplines. He studies psychology, physics, biology, and economics, not as separate subjects, but as different lenses for understanding how the world operates. When I asked ChatGPT about this approach, it explained that truly intelligent people are mental model collectors who constantly build and refine their understanding of how different systems work. I tested this by building mental models for 3 areas of my life: how my boss makes decisions, how traffic patterns work in my city, and how my family members respond to stress. The results were incredible. I could predict my boss's reactions with 90% accuracy, which allowed me to frame my proposals in ways that aligned with his decision-making patterns. I cut my commute time by 15 minutes by understanding traffic flow patterns. I stopped family arguments before they started by recognizing early warning signs. The key is to think in systems, not events. Most people see individual incidents: a boss who rejected their proposal, a traffic jam that made them late, a family argument that erupted over dinner. Smart people see the underlying systems that create those incidents. Mental models become exponentially more powerful when you combine them. Understanding psychology helps you build better models of human behavior. Understanding economics helps you predict how people respond to incentives. When you start connecting mental models from different domains, you develop insights that seem like genius to others, but feel like common sense to you. System 3 is where most people completely fail. They think tactically instead of strategically. Tactical thinking asks, how do I solve this problem? Strategic thinking asks, what problems should I be solving, and in what order, and how do they connect to my bigger goals? The RAND Corporation developed a strategic thinking framework used by military leaders and Fortune 500 CEOs. It has 4 levels: immediate, what is happening now; operational, what trends are developing; strategic, what forces are shaping the future; and systemic, what fundamental changes are occurring in the underlying systems. Most people live entirely in the immediate level. They react to what is happening right now without understanding the larger forces at play. Smart people operate on all 4 levels simultaneously. I applied this framework to my career development after ChatGPT walked me through how it works. Immediate level: I needed better presentation skills for my current role. Operational level: remote work was changing how presentations are delivered. Strategic level: artificial intelligence was going to change what skills are valuable in knowledge work. Systemic level: the nature of work itself was evolving toward more creative and interpersonal tasks that cannot be automated. This analysis led me to focus not just on presentation skills, but on developing AI collaboration abilities and creative problem-solving skills. 6 months later, when our company started implementing AI tools, I was the obvious choice to lead the integration project, because I had already developed relevant skills. Strategic thinking also means understanding the difference between problems and symptoms. Most people waste energy solving symptoms repeatedly instead of addressing root causes. Here is where ChatGPT surprised me most. Emotional intelligence is not just about being nice to people. It is actually a form of advanced pattern recognition applied to human behavior and emotional systems. People who master emotional intelligence can predict and influence human behavior with startling accuracy, because they understand the emotional patterns that drive most human decisions. Daniel Goleman's research shows that emotional intelligence accounts for 58% of job performance across all types of work. But most people think emotional intelligence means being empathetic or good at managing their own emotions. That is only part of it. Real emotional intelligence has 4 components: Self-awareness, knowing your emotional patterns and triggers. Self-regulation, controlling your emotional responses strategically. Social awareness, reading other people's emotional states and motivations. And relationship management, influencing others' emotional responses to create better outcomes for everyone. The key insight that ChatGPT revealed is that emotions are information systems. They provide data about internal states, unmet needs, threat assessments, and social dynamics. Emotionally intelligent people do not ignore emotions or suppress them. They decode them like a sophisticated data analysis system. For example, when someone gets angry during a meeting, most people either get defensive or try to calm them down. Emotionally intelligent people read the anger as information. What need is not being met? What threat do they perceive? Then they address the underlying issue rather than just the surface emotion. I started practicing this approach in all my relationships. When my partner got frustrated about household responsibilities, instead of getting defensive, I decoded the frustration. She was feeling overwhelmed and unsupported. Instead of arguing about who does more chores, I asked what kind of support would help her feel less overwhelmed. The conversation completely changed, and we found solutions that worked for both of us. The fifth system is what separates lifelong learners from people who get stuck. The ability to learn faster and adapt quicker than everyone around you. This is not about reading speed or memory tricks. This is about developing meta-learning skills, learning how to learn more effectively, and more importantly, learning how to unlearn outdated patterns that no longer serve you. Research by Dr. Barbara Oakley reveals that the most effective learners use a technique called mixing different types of problems and concepts during study sessions instead of focusing on one topic at a time. This forces your brain to constantly distinguish between different types of situations and strengthens pattern recognition across multiple domains. But here's the secret most people miss. The fastest way to learn anything is to teach it to someone else immediately after learning it. This forces your brain to organize information in a way that can be transmitted to others, which creates deeper understanding and better retention. I started applying this by creating 5-minute video summaries of everything I learned. Books I read, conversations I had, problems I solved at work, insights I gained from challenging situations. Not only did this accelerate my learning, but these videos became valuable content that established me as a thought leader in my field. Adaptive learning also means developing what psychologists call cognitive flexibility, the ability to switch between different mental frameworks, depending on the situation. Most people get stuck using the same thinking patterns for every problem. Adaptive learners have multiple mental tools and know when to use each one. Now here is where the magic happens. When you combine all 5 systems, you create what I call compound intelligence. Each system amplifies the others, creating exponential rather than linear improvement in your thinking ability. Pattern recognition helps you build better mental models because you can see recurring elements across different systems. Better mental models improve your strategic thinking because you can simulate different scenarios more accurately. Strategic thinking enhances your emotional intelligence by helping you understand the long-term consequences of relationship decisions. Emotional intelligence accelerates your adaptive learning because you can better understand your own learning patterns. And adaptive learning improves your pattern recognition by exposing you to more diverse experiences and perspectives. I developed a daily protocol that exercises all 5 systems systematically. Morning, spend 10 minutes identifying patterns in news, market data, or personal observations. Write them down and look for connections. Midday, build or refine one mental model based on something you observed. This could be how a person makes decisions, how a system works, or how different variables interact. Afternoon, think strategically about one decision using the 4-level framework. Consider immediate needs, operational implications, strategic consequences, and systemic changes. Evening, reflect on the emotional dynamics of your interactions. What patterns did you notice? What information were those emotions providing? Before sleep, teach someone else something you learned that day, either formally or informally. Weekend, take time for deeper integration by connecting insights from different areas and practicing new mental models. Let me show you how these systems work together in 3 high-stakes situations. Negotiating a major deal. Pattern recognition helps you identify how the other party makes decisions and what motivates them. Mental modeling helps you build models of their business constraints and decision-making process. Strategic thinking helps you plan multiple moves based on different possible responses. Emotional intelligence helps you read their emotional state and create positive associations. Adaptive learning helps you adjust your approach in real time, leading a team through crisis. Pattern recognition helps you quickly identify which type of crisis you are facing. Mental modeling helps you simulate different response strategies. Strategic thinking helps you consider immediate actions, medium-term stabilization, and long-term strategy. Emotional intelligence helps you manage team fear and communicate with stakeholders. Adaptive learning helps you rapidly test hypotheses and pivot strategies, making a major life decision. Pattern recognition helps you analyze patterns in your own decision-making and life satisfaction. Mental modeling helps you build models of how different choices would affect various areas of your life. Strategic thinking helps you consider immediate implications and long-term consequences. Emotional intelligence helps you understand your own emotional patterns and needs. Adaptive learning helps you gather information and test assumptions. Here is what happens when you consistently apply these 5 systems. You start making decisions that seem brilliant to others, but feel obvious to you. You begin seeing opportunities that others miss completely. You develop the ability to predict outcomes with uncanny accuracy. People start seeking your opinion because your thinking is consistently clearer and more insightful than theirs. This is not about becoming manipulative or using intelligence to take advantage of others. This is about developing your full cognitive potential so you can solve bigger problems, create more value, and make better decisions for yourself and everyone around you. Research from the McKinsey Global Institute shows that individuals who consistently demonstrate superior thinking skills advance faster in their careers, earn significantly more over their lifetimes, and report higher job satisfaction than their peers. The difference between smart people and everyone else is not innate ability. It is the systematic development of thinking skills that most people never consciously improve. Every technique I have shared today can be learned and mastered through deliberate practice. Your intelligence challenge for the next 30 days. Implement 1 system per week for the first 5 weeks. Then spend the final week integrating all 5 systems. Start with pattern recognition. Spend 10 minutes each day identifying patterns in whatever you are working on. Track your observations and see how your pattern recognition improves over time. If this video has changed how you think about intelligence and shown you what is possible when you develop your mental abilities systematically, share it with someone who is ready to upgrade their cognitive operating system. And if you want more strategies for developing superior thinking skills, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Remember, in a world where information is everywhere, and artificial intelligence is automating routine thinking, your competitive advantage lies in developing the kind of intelligence that no computer can replicate. The ability to see patterns others miss, build accurate models of complex systems, think strategically across multiple time horizons, understand and influence human emotions, and adapt faster than everyone around you. The question is not whether you are smart enough. The question is, are you ready to become smarter than you ever thought possible?